Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Goldie on Ice podcast. We are getting set for the Stanley Cup Final. Game number one, Amerant Bank Arena, Saturday night. The Panthers again back in the Cup Final for the second consecutive year, this time trying to win the first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Now, the Goldie on Ice podcast here in the playoffs, presented by Amerant Bank. Go to amerantbank.com, check out all that they have to offer, including the Panthers debit card. Okay, well, there's so many storylines when a team gets to a championship. One of them with the Panthers surrounds head coach Paul Maurice. It had been a while, more than 20 years, as you probably know, in between Cup Final appearances for Maurice, and now 2 in a row, 2 for 2 as head coach of the Panthers. And I had a chance to chat with the Panthers bench boss about that and a number of other topics leading up to the Cup. Well, Coach, you went more than 20 years without going back to the Stanley Cup Final. Now it's 2 years in a row. First up, was that ever on your mind all those years, and what does it mean to you now?
Well, it is, Steve. First of all, this is a very good team, and to have the opportunity to come back twice in back-to-back years, you have to have a very powerful group, and you have to have depth. And we have a better team this year than we had last year, and so once you get to it last year and your team gets better, then it's on your radar, you believe. But you know what it's like being here, and I had some years in Carolina that you came to the rink at training camp and knew if you scratched and clawed and if everything went right and you stayed healthy, you had an outside chance of making the playoffs. And you, how many seasons you have where none of that ever happens, right? You never stay healthy. It never works like that, especially for those teams like that. So to get to here, to be able to stand behind a bench that has the players that we have, it's a great feeling. And I think we felt that right straight from probably January of last year.
You think about your journey from the late 80s and junior hockey, and then even during your NHL career, time in Russia and the AHL. Do you not pay a lot of attention to that?
It's all contextual. Like if you and I sit down and sometimes we talk hockey, we'll talk about all that. And I think about that. Right now I don't, because they're so different. This has been an incredibly unique experience for me here with Bill, with you. But when you think about the players on this team, the uniqueness of these guys, there's not a lot of things that I could say this year. I can relate to a lot of other teams that I had because it's a completely different animal. It's a completely different set of guys. Now, the experiences of what it's like to go into game one in a final, all those things, I got a little bit of experience. There's not a lot of guys with a lot. It's hard to get here. So it's different. And I love the fact that it's different, because it's probably why you feel almost that this group, man, you want to keep coaching, right? You enjoy it so much.
What do you think and you mentioned the experience here, you came in as an opponent for many years to the building, to the market. What do you think now when you can't really go anywhere without seeing Panther gear and Panther flags?
Awesome. So I don't live very far from here, right? And they've got a great restaurant up here, and we have lunch in here all the time. And there's all the Panther fans. There's people with the things in their yards now. Go Panthers, go. I think for the most part, most of the people kind of in my area figure out what I do for a living, so they're cheering for the team too. It's been great. I went through it a bit in Carolina, right? Like you had to build that almost from scratch, and now they have an incredible franchise there. And I enjoy being a part of this. A lot of people, when you think about the investment Mr. Viola made year over year over year, when there weren't people coming and the team wasn't great, it takes a long time to build a franchise and to build a fan base that can survive maybe a down year or two, because the game's still exciting for them and they become passionate as much about the Panthers but also about the game. And I've enjoyed that. It's been great. I don't mind the fact that I can also go out and nobody has any idea what I do, which is perfect for all of us, but it's certainly growing here, and the attention on the team and the sport is fantastic.
What did you think in the clincher against the Rangers? It was mostly red, mostly Panther fans.
So that's great, right? There'll be a little bit, and this will be true in both buildings, but when you have a 2-day block, people can block 2 or 3 days off, and they can fly down, and why wouldn't you, right? It's gorgeous here every day. So, but in those games, those singles, it's all Panthers fans. And you feel it right from the start, right? The national anthems, the buzz was there. I'm glad they got to see it, I think last year too, but I'm glad they got to see it this year, because the place has been, the fans have been great all year. Like that lower bowl, they feel all year, and that's an accomplishment. That's a good thing. So I do feel the connection there between the players and the fans, that they appreciate the journey.
Final one for you on your team. You've mentioned it's it's a unique group. It's maybe a more serious group than a year ago. They don't laugh at your jokes quite as much anymore.
Maybe
but
I'm just not that funny.
maybe that's
these guys are smarter. That's all.
maybe they were being nice last year. I know it's very hard. It's like picking a favorite kid. But is there a guy on this team that you respect so much, or you like spending time with, or talking with, that you really love to coach? Because you've coached so many players during your career.
That answer deserves a lot of time, but I'll phrase it a different way then. There are a number of players in that room that make you want to get better. So I'm coming to the rink, and I know this video's got to be right. First of all, because I got a bunch of smart guys there, and if it's not right, they're going to know. I also know they're going to put everything they possibly can into winning this and being part of the team. So you don't want to be the weak link, which is that's the driver for me. I mean, I've had players before kind of inspire you, but I've never had this many guys in the room when I'm doing my work this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow morning to start presenting to them. It's got to be right, because these guys are that good, and they'll be able to tell. So it's kind of like you are as much of a performer, I don't feel, on the bench that I am, or in public I am, but in my job is to be good in the meetings, in the prep meetings, getting this team ready to play. And I do feel a real kind of positive pressure from the players, because they want it, and they want it to be right. And there's a bunch of smart guys in there who will know if it's not.
As always, very humble, Paul Maurice. Thanks for the time, Coach.
Yeah, my pleasure, Steve.